Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of the Sarah Seams podcast. It is Mother's Day, and I am here with my own mother, Brenda.
Hi.
I'm Sarah. If it's your first time watching, I live in Columbus, Ohio with my partner and our 2 cats. And as of this morning, Mother's Day surprise, we found a kitten in the backyard. So this video is being filmed a little later in the day than we anticipated because we were mothering a little baby kitten. So today's episode is going to be crochet focused, a little bit different than usual because my mom is quite the crocheter. So we're going to share what we're wearing, some of her recently finished objects, and then we'll both share some crochet whips, and then we might share a couple like dream crochet projects, and then we're going to do a little Q&A section at the end. So to get started, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Brenda. And I live here in Columbus. I have been in Columbus pretty much my whole life. I am a high school secretary for 1 more year, and then I get to go into retirement. And I am an avid cyclist as well as liking to crochet.
All right. So we'll get into a little bit more about like her crafting journey and some other info in the Q&A section. But we're gonna start off with what we're wearing. So I'm not wearing anything crochet, but I did sew this dress. So just quickly, this is the NYX dress by Closet Core Patterns. I talked a lot about it in my most recent podcast episode, and I'll link that above if you're interested in hearing more. Do you wanna tell us about what you're wearing?
Oh, I should look this up first. I do know it's MJ's Off the Hook. This was a very popular pattern for her. She did this kind of granny square. There was a whole series. You could do it V-necked or, rounded neck like this, long sleeves. There were several different options, but it's a really easy workup, especially if you want to try your first hand at something you can wear.
And you've made a couple of these, right?
I have. I think I've made at least 4.
I think she made one for me too.
I did.
And I should have worn that. Also, this is not my normal filming location, so it may look different to you. We're in the living room and the cats are out and about. So if you hear meowing, that is what you're hearing, and maybe one of them will make an appearance. So tell us about this yarn because it was kind of special, right? Right.
So this yarn, and I will say that the first one of these I made, I just used an off-brand kind of cheaper yarn just to try it. So this yarn is dyed by a local company, Dye Mad Yarns, and I got it at
Yarn and Dash, right, in Grandview.
Yarn and Haberdashery, I think, yeah, in Grandview. And the colorway, they specifically made for their store because it's called Grandview Theater or Grandview Marquee. It is the colors of the Grandview Theater Marquee. That's why they call it that. So it's exclusive to their store. It's a really nice merino blend, I guess. So yeah, it's real soft and yeah, I like it.
Yeah, and Dye Mad Yarns actually has their own yarn shop here as well. They're one of the like 4 or 5 that we're like lucky to have here in Columbus. So, all right, so with that said, let's jump into some recently finished FOs. All right, so my mom's gonna go ahead and share some of her recently finished objects. And while we were paused, we did look up the name of the pattern that she's wearing.
Yes, this is it's the Granny Pop pullover, and it's MJ's Off the Hook. I know that for sure.
Awesome. All right, so what have you been making lately?
Well, this is my most recent finish. Hold it up closer. This is the Elderflower pattern by Allison Green, and I did it in Barocco Remix Light, 100% recycled fibers. It is a number 3 weight yarn. What else do you usually say?
Let's see.
Oh, there's the mix.
Yeah, so this is probably like a sport or DK weight. It's 100% recycled fibers, which is cool. Yeah, 30% nylon, 27% cotton, 24% acrylic, 10% silk, 9% linen. There's like all kinds of stuff in here. The color is really pretty. They just do color numbers. So this is 6963, but it's a real pretty light blue.
It's very light blue. Yep.
Yeah, so is the front the same as the back?
Yes. Yep.
Let's see. Looks like you got some tails to weave in.
Oh, actually, sorry. I put that on there. Actually, I think I did that so I could mark the front, what I thought was the front. Yeah.
Well, it looks beautiful.
I can just take that off.
Oh, I see.
There we
It's
go.
just a little stitch marker kind of thing. It's really pretty. I really like the scalloped hem at the bottom.
I liked
kind of
the lacy,
details.
and then the
Yeah.
lacy on the sleeves too.
Yeah.
Thought that was pretty.
Do you remember what size you made?
I think that's a large.
I think it would look cute on me. Have you worn it yet?
I have not. I actually just took it off the blocking mats.
Oh, nice. So
I'm anxious to see.
yeah, can you talk a little bit about blocking your crochet? Because I think a lot of people maybe don't know that you should also block crochet. But I feel like it has a lot of the same benefits as blocking your knitting, right?
Well, I don't knit, so I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially that pattern because it was so lacy. Like blocking it really opened that pattern up, and you could really see it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think it just, for me, it just makes the shape come out better. Sometimes with shawls, it makes them stretch a little longer or a little wider.
Also with knitting, like, or crochet, like sometimes people don't know that you should still block summer fibers. But I think every kind of fiber, like even acrylic, can benefit from blocking depending. So yeah, that's awesome. That looks really good. It's kind of like a round yoke kind of situation, which is interesting. All right, what else you got?
As far as recently
finished, yeah.
Recently finished. Oh, I know. Excuse me, I gotta dig it out of the bin of stuff I brought.
We got a whole laundry basket full of crochet.
This is
this one.
Really long shawl, kind of done on the bias.
And this is folded in half,
Yeah,
so you can see how like,
it's very long.
very long.
And this is the Summer Shells Shawl by Firefly Fiber Arts Studio. This is actually not the colorway that they showed it in, but I liked these colors, and I actually didn't realize till I got the skeins that I had an extra skein than what the original was done in. So I had to kind of create my own pattern for the striping.
Oh, so yours is extra, extra long?
Nope, it's the same length.
Oh, you
it's
just had an extra color.
Yes, I had an extra color to try and figure out how to put in. But I think also it's very light, it's very open.
It is super light. Do you remember what the yarn is?
No.
Was it Knit Picks?
Probably.
Like a fade? Sorry, we thought we were prepared.
I can find out.
I'll link everything
I'll send her
below
a
in
link.
the comments. And also, I always forget to say, if you're interested in following me on Instagram or Ravelry, that'll be in the description box below, and I'll try and link as many of the patterns and yarns in the description box below as well. I feel like I remember this being like a fade set from Knit Picks. You gotta start taking notes.
Possible. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is really beautiful. It weighs like nothing, and it's so like airy. It's really, really pretty. I like this one a lot.
Thank you.
And the stitch pattern's interesting. All right, so was that it for your recently finished?
That's my two most recently finished.
All right, so you want to go into whips. How many do you have? Just the one?
Actually, I have two.
Okay, I have 3, but I'll lump 2 together. So maybe I'll go first and you can alternate. Okay, so I have 3 crochet projects right now, 2 blankets and 1 top that I started the other day. So maybe I'll do blanket, top, blanket. So let's start with a blanket. This one hasn't been getting as much work recently, but this is my granny stripe blanket.
I love this one.
I just have a bunch of skeins. I had a bunch of random skeins of DK, like some are superwash, some are not, in my stash. And yeah, I just started a granny stripe blanket. So I pretty much, I'm saying cast on. I chained, I think 202 stitches. So in my mind, this is like the width of the blanket. And then now I'm working up, but it's pretty long. So that might end up being the height of the blanket. I'm just gonna go until I run out of yarn, and we'll see how big it is. And it'll probably be some type of rectangle at that point. So yeah, I just started the second repeat of the colors. It's very pretty, kind of autumnal colors. Like this one is really pretty and variegated. Yeah, not too much to say about it. I have been working on the other blanket more recently, but I see this as kind of just like a long-term, like pick it up and go project. The one thing I will say about the granny stripe blanket is that you got a lot of ends to weave in. I just unraveled something.
Uh-oh.
I just unraveled
Just
a stripe.
Just the end there.
It's fine. We'll just shove it in the bag and figure it out later. So yeah, that's my first whip. A bunch of random DK weight yarns from my stash. What do you got?
Okay. So this one.
Tell us about your bag.
Oh, I got this cute bag. It's kind of springy and summery looking on the outside, and you can flip it inside out, and it's got more wintry colors on the inside. I got this at
the little market at So to Speak.
Yeah, So to Speak. Yes.
Another amazing local fabric and yarn store. And I think it was made by like a local maker as well.
I like it. And it's pretty big.
Yeah.
So this is the Canada Kerchief Tank by Jennifer Ozes. Sorry, I probably just
we'll put it in the description box below.
It's really cute, and so I use this. This is that same Barocco yarn that you used on your sweater. I'll
put a picture of the design over my face here so you can see what it looks like. It's kind of a cool, like, full tank top.
Yeah. So these are gonna sew together, and then it's gonna be like kerchiefed at the bottom, and then it's got just a little small top.
And it's a color changing yarn. It's the Barocco Bozzolo. Do you have any in there?
I don't.
Okay.
Not with the labels on
I can look up what the colorway is and put that in the description box below as well. So if you saw my most recent podcast, I just finished a Pin to Pillar pullover by James & Watts using the same yarn in a different color. It's so nice. It's really, really soft. I found it was like really nice to work with.
Yeah, it feels really good. So I have all 4 of the squares made. I just have to block them and then do the top part.
So how does the construction work then? You make the 4 squares. Do you seam them together?
I think I seam them, yes.
Do the top?
It said you should block them. And then, then I'll seam them together. And then, yes, I think then I crochet the top part onto it.
Will you show the square again, like closer to the camera so they can see the color?
I've got 2.
It is really cool. That's going to be really pretty. Very like sunset colors.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of beachy, kind of summery.
Actually, you should wear that to Pride if you come down.
Oh, yeah.
My sister is going to be vending at the Pride Festival this June, and that is like rainbow-esque, so that would be perfect to wear. All right, so the garment that I recently started is the Vesuvius tee, and I forget the designer, so I'll put that on the screen, and I'll put a picture here over Mom's face. It's really cute. My friend Jess was telling me she started one of these, and she totally influenced me to start one too. So I went stash diving and really didn't have a light enough summer yarn for this. It calls for like almost a lace weight cotton yarn. So after trying a few different yarns, all of my summer yarns were too thick. They're closer to DK or worsted weight. Then I was like, should I make it out of like mohair? But that doesn't feel right for summer. So what I did have was 3 skeins of Purl Soho's Linen Quill. This is a really popular yarn. It is still woolly. It is, where's the makeup? 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. But it is really lightweight, and I think the linen content makes it feel cool enough that I wanted to give it a try for this top. And let me show you what I have. Haven't made too terribly much progress, but you start with the back and you work increases out. It has kind of like a drop shoulder construction. And the stitch texture is alternating rows of single crochet and then the more textured stitches. So I think it looks really nice. The gauge is pretty much spot on. It is very close to my skin tone, so we'll see how I end up feeling about wearing that, but it's been really nice to work on. It's a fairly small hook, so it kind of scratches a different itch than the blankets, which are pretty mindless. This one has a little bit more to think about, but yeah, I think it'll be really nice. This yarn has a really nice drape to it. That was the other thing I was noticing with the cotton yarns, is that they were very stiff. Like it was very like, here is the shirt. So I think especially once this is blocked, it'll be really nice and drapey to wear. And I'm hoping that the like holes in the fabric will keep it cool enough to wear in like the spring and the early fall. So I did have to rip 3 rows out this morning or more because I realized I accidentally missed a single crochet row, and all of a sudden all of my texture was on the wrong side. So I had more progress than this, but I just had to rip a bunch out. So I'll keep plugging away on this. It works up fairly quickly considering how small it is, but Yeah, this is my first time making like a more complicated crochet garment. It's really, really cute. It has like a little high side slit, like a high-low hem. So I am excited about it, and I will keep you all posted on that. I'm making size 5 in this one. And like I said, I'll link the pattern below. The yarn colorway is Rose Granite. All right, you wanna do your last one?
Okay. This one,
Show us your bag.
Oh, I have this cute little bag.
Show it closer.
It's got little lammies on it.
Little sheeps on it.
That was so cute.
It is very cute.
And at first I could not figure out what these 2 loops were for. I have since figured out that you can hook this like to your belt if you want to like bring your yarn along
or
with
like
you.
if you were on a plane and you could like
yeah, if you wanted to hook it on something. I'm like,
something.
oh, okay, it makes sense now, because I kept trying to hook it together and I'm like, this is not working.
I don't think I've seen this one yet.
This one is, I signed up for the Jimmy Beans 2024 Shawl Club, and they had 2 different colorways that you could choose. I chose the Radiant, and the yarn is 100% merino wool, fingering weight. And so every month I get 2 little skeins, and then I can scan the QR code that's on the card, and it gives me like the pattern to work for that. Yeah,
that's fun.
So it is. So, and it's kind of a wild one, but it's worked in like 2 parts, and then I'm gonna like put it together.
So is the idea that you knit a little shawl like every month with the yarn?
No, it's all going. Eventually, it's all going together.
Oh, so is it like a year-long project?
I don't think it goes a whole year, but it's like, yeah, it's at least 6 months.
Okay, cool.
I think I have 2 more months of it.
Very fun.
So yeah, so this is the first part. And if anybody else is working on this, you're gonna know that I made a mistake on this, because I didn't realize when I first started which colorway I was supposed to start with. So this is actually supposed to be this color, but I had enough yarn to make it work, so I didn't tear it out. I just went with it.
I love this one so much. That's really fun.
And it's kind of cool because like each section, each color is like different in like the stitch pattern. So I get to learn a little something different for each one. Yeah. And this one I thought was really pretty with this kind of scallopy lacy edge. Now what's weird when I got this last month, was it had these other 2 really beautiful colors, but it's like I started over with another one, and then eventually they're gonna piece together.
I was gonna say, it looks like this one, like right here, maybe they're gonna like seam together. Yeah. Like here.
Yeah. So, but I thought these colors are really pretty too. This kind of a real soft yellow. And then I love this one with this kind of like really bright confetti kind of look.
Yeah. So that's really fun. I love projects like that where you get to like, you get like a little thing in the mail, and then you get to like do part of it every month.
It's always fun to see kind of what color I'm going to get. Yeah. And then to learn, it just helps me to learn different stitches and make things, you know, different.
Didn't you do a blanket project kind of like that too, where it was like a month to month?
I did, and it's not finished yet, but I kind of started that one. It was, yeah, every month there was a different stitch pattern, and you made 4 squares of each month's design.
It was like a sampler kind of.
Yeah, and I'm still kind of plugging away on that. I will finish it eventually, but I do think doing that helped, again, a lot with just getting back into crochet and learning different stitches, and it gave me more confidence to do other things.
Did it start with like really basic stitches? Like, would it be good for a beginner?
Yeah.
Something like that?
It's pretty good, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll try and get the info and link it below.
I think you can still get the info. Yeah, get it.
All right, my last one is my favorite and most exciting. So I just got this bag during local yarn store day from 614 Knit Studio, which is the most local to me yarn store. Really cute. I shared more about it on the podcast. The brand is Melka, not sure. It's actually like a lunch tote is what they're like branded for, but it's just this really nice box bottom bag with an interior pocket. And in here I'm storing my scrappy granny square blanket, which has grown so much since I last showed it on the podcast. So it's just like a big colorful explosion. Here's all my little scraps in here. I'm gonna have to stand up to show this now. It's so big. All right, so here she is. Yeah, look how big it
cool.
is. It's getting blankety. So yeah, I can show a little closer. At first I was like, oh, I'm only gonna use like pink and green and blue. And now I'm like, whatever, I'll use whatever color scraps I have. So I'm holding two colors of fingering weight yarn together. So it's marled. And then I just, whenever I run out of one, I add another one in. I'm rotating the blanket at the beginning of each row. So you can see right here where my row begins and ends, but that's okay. I don't mind this at all. There's every kind of yarn in here, singles, superwash, non-superwash. There's some sport weight yarns. It's just kind of become the catch-all. And yeah, it's getting pretty big.
Yeah.
It's probably nearing like a lap size, but I'm just gonna keep going because I want it to be huge. It's really nice and heavy. And I've been really enjoying it. The only thing is with every color, like kind of yarn in it, it's not gonna be machine washable. So it is gonna have to live in the craft room where the cats can't get to it, but it feels special. It feels like all of my like scraps from all my projects are in here. And when I see them, I'm like, oh, that's from that project or whatever. And one of my lovely viewers like sent me some scraps. So now her scraps are gonna be in it. And it's kind of like a little community project, and you can give me your scraps too.
That's right.
So yes, I've made a lot of progress on that in the past couple of months. I think that is it for works in progress, yes?
Yep.
All right, so we were just gonna each share one like crochet project that we're excited to do in the near future. So do you wanna go first?
Sure. So I'll start by showing this beautiful yarn. I got this at the Wool Gathering last year in Yellow Springs.
Yep, and that's just like a fairly local yarn festival in Yellow Springs, Ohio.
Mm-hmm. And I bought like 5 skeins of this. I'm sure at the time I had a project in mind for it, but now it's gotten away from me. But
yeah, and so what this is from the Yarn Smith or Yarny Smith. It is hand dyed in the foothills of the Alleghenies. So maybe this is like a Pennsylvania-based dyer. It's 75% merino, 25% nylon, superwash, DK. The color is Ivan. It's just like a really beautiful coral.
And so I did find a pattern that I think I'm gonna make with this, and it is called Honey Bunch Tea by Ann Ten Haaf. H-A-A-F is the last name.
And we'll link that below, and I'll put a picture of it in here.
And it's just a basic little tee, but it's got like a little scalloped border on the neckline, which I thought was really pretty. And I thought it would be a nice summer weight sweater, but I could also carry it over into the fall with this kind of being this orangey. It could be summery, it could be fall-y. Mm-hmm. So that's my next to-do project.
Your next cast on.
Yep.
Mine is not planned yet, but more of I just know I want to make it at some point, and it is the Jethro cardigan, which I believe is by Tanis Lavallee. Again, we'll link that below. I'll put a picture of it in here. It's been in the top on Ravelry for a while. It's a combination of crochet and knitting. So we actually kind of together made a similar project already, which was wow, we're failing at names today. I'm gonna put it on the screen. It's the one by Amy Christoffers. It's the granny square body, and then it has like knit finishings. So when we made that, she crocheted all the granny squares and then I did all the finishings. And I really like it, but it doesn't fit very well, unfortunately.
I should try it on. You
should try it on, actually, yeah. And I think that's just down to the design, unfortunately. It's just not, there's only 2 sizes available. There's a lot of extra fabric at the underarm, and it's just not, it's great to just throw on if you're cold, but it's not like the most well-fitting garment. So what I love about the Jethro cardigan is that it looks much more, there's a lot more sizes available, and it looks more polished, and it looks like it fits a lot better. So it has a drop shoulder, which I think lends itself very well to crochet because of the squareness of the granny squares. But it has knit sleeves, which is the difference between these 2 cardigans. And I think that will make the arm fit much nicer. And it has then like knitted finishings. So I think I'm gonna make one of these. I'm either gonna just continue collecting like DK and fingering weight scraps to make one, or eventually I'll bite the bullet and buy some yarn to make one. So yes. And maybe I'll make the granny squares myself this time. I struggle with granny squares sometimes. I'm curious how you feel about like granny squares versus like something like the Vesuvius tea or the tea that you showed, where you're kind of making the whole thing all at once, versus granny squares where you're making like 100 of the same thing. Because I know you also recently made that coat that had all the granny squares. Yeah, I brought
that actually.
I think we need to see that. Maybe, yeah, let's do a fashion show.
Oh gosh, well, it isn't going to look very good on top of this sweater, but I did bring it.
Yeah, this thing is amazing.
Should I put it on?
Yeah, fashion show.
Okay.
Here we go. Oh yeah, it's so pretty. Do you remember the pattern name?
This one is Hannah. Oh gosh, Hannah's her first name.
We can put it in.
Yeah, and
this is one of my favorite things you've ever made.
Yeah, it's alpaca, so it's very, very thick. I feel like it needs pockets. I keep wanting to put it.
Well, I feel like you could just make another square.
I could just make another square.
Yeah. So you made like 100 squares for this, right?
I made a lot of squares for this.
Yeah, because it's long too.
Yeah.
It's like mid-thigh.
It's very long, and all the sleeves.
It's so soft.
But I like it.
It's beautiful.
And I love the colors.
Yeah.
Let's see if you can see it.
Really good.
And this is a really different kind of granny square.
Yeah, they're like, it's like a puff stitch.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like really pretty. So do you find that doing like a project like that is easier or harder for you, or is it just different? Like, how do you kind of think about that? Because I personally really struggle with granny squares.
Yeah, I like
lose my motivation.
I like granny squares, but I'm like, I don't know, I'm kind of a task-oriented person. So I just did them in like groups of 10. I would just kind of go, and granny squares are an easy project to take with you somewhere too, because you can just make them and stick them in the bag as you make them, and so that was pretty easy. Piecing that all together and then doing all the ribbing all the way around it was probably, the ribbing was way more tedious to me than doing all the granny squares. So I don't mind. And like this is like a granny square kind of stitch, but it's not granny squares in actual squares.
And when you're doing your granny squares, you kind of do like you said, you do them 10 at a time, but you do like all the middles first, right? And then you do like all the second round.
That's true. That's true. I might do them in groups of 10, but yes, that's exactly what I do. I make all the centers, then I do the next row, because that way you're not changing your yarn color as many times. You know, you're working with the same color. If you're doing something like that, where there's a definite pattern and it's all the same, you know, all the centers are the same, the next row is the same. I find that easier to do, and you feel like you get more done that way.
Yeah. All right, well, is there anything else you wanted to show us before we start the Q&A? Did you want to show your Tunisian crochet?
Oh, I didn't know if you were going to ask about that. Yeah, I brought with me a shawl that I did. This is Tunisian crochet.
Can you explain a little bit about like what that is? Here, cover up our eyes so it'll focus on
okay.
There you go.
Tunisian crochet is, I should have brought the hook with me. I might have the hook with me. But it's, instead of like crocheting across and then turning and then crocheting back the other direction, with this, you have the needle and it has like a cord on the end. And so you crochet like a first stitch all the way across, and then you pull back through all the way across.
So it's kind of like a circular knitting needle with a cord attached to it, but it's a crochet hook.
Yes.
What's on the other end?
Like of the crochet? Just a bead, like a wood bead. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you've never heard of this technique or seen it, it's worth like doing a little Google and seeing someone doing it, because it's really interesting. I had never even heard of it until she started doing it, but I feel like you can create a lot more interesting like textures with it, right? And you can do, like, what is the benefit of doing the Tunisian crochet versus the regular crochet?
I really couldn't answer that question, but I can tell you this.
If anyone knows, let us know in the comments.
This is a Tony, I think it's Lipsy.
Tony Lipsy, yeah, Lipsy.
Pattern, and I did just buy a book that she did too that's got some more Tunisian crochet, and I really enjoyed working this. It just felt really good. And this wool is from 614 Knit Studio. It is their studio brand. Big Dog, Sky Dog, what the heck is the name of their? It's named, she has a dog in the shop, and it's kind of named after the dog, but this is their wool.
Yeah,
and
they have it milled locally. It's the studio dog's name is Pearl, which is very cute.
It's Studio Dog. That's it.
That's
yeah.
it. Yes.
Yeah, so it's really nice and warm, very thick.
Yeah, it's very nice. Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, yeah, if anybody knows, we're just, you know.
I assume it came from Tunisia, but that's just an assumption.
I would assume, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony Lipsy, to my knowledge, is she's like huge on YouTube. She has a really big community and makes a lot of amazing patterns. So if you're interested in trying a new crochet technique, I would definitely point you in that direction, and I will link her website below. All right, so the last little segment we're gonna do is a Q&A. I thought it would be nice with Mom here to just answer a couple questions. So I have a few questions for you, and then we did get a couple from the audience, which were really sweet. So, sorry, I feel like we're out of it. You want to hear, come this way. Look. Okay, there we go. All right. So first question for you, how did you get into crochet or crafting in general? Tell us about your like crafting background. Because you taught me how to crochet when I was like 7 or 8, I think.
Probably about that same age, I think my mom taught me. I can remember sitting on the couch with her and learning how to do it. Crochet, we did a little bit of knitting too, and I can remember back in the day we used to have those little round plastic things that you would put the yarn around and then hook it over, and so, you know, I think I've always been kind of a crafty person. I think, you know, I do remember learning that. I don't really remember doing a ton. I think I do remember doing some blankets, like when I was in high school. I can remember making a blanket.
Like Afghans, like crocheting?
It was like, it was squares, but they looked like, they had like a flower pattern kind of in the middle. But it was, you know, in the 70s, so it was brown and yellow. I think, yeah, it was like that. So I can remember doing that. And then I did scrapbooking for a long time, and you know, I just like to craft. I've always been kind of a crafter. And, you know, I had 2 very artistic daughters who were always crafting. So there was always some craft going on at our house.
It's funny because I feel like you always have said that you're not like a creative person, but I feel like that's not true. Like you do all these things. There's different types of creativity. Yeah. Like you're very hands-on. I think creative in the same way that I am, where like, you like executing the thing is what you're good at, and you can like follow instructions, and you know, like I think we're both like good at that in that way.
Yeah, I'm not very good at coming up with things on my own, but now my mom, who is very good at like flower arranging and color picking and all that kind of stuff. Watercolor painting. Okay, they put me in a painting class when I was a kid, and it was a complete failure.
Well, okay, if you only did one, you know.
I'm like, if you want something painted, it has to be a wall, and it has to be all the same color. If you want me to organize your paints, then I can do that. But if I'm making something with my hands, I do better, and if I have a pattern or something to follow, I can do that.
Yeah. I think I'm similar in a lot of ways.
But drawing is not, painting, not my thing.
All right, what is your favorite type of thing to make? Like garment, shawl, accessory, little, I know you make a lot of little like cute like holiday decor and stuff for like charity fundraisers and whatnot. So like what do you enjoy making the most?
I mean, I do enjoy doing the little things that I might sell for charity. I did some granny square ornaments a couple of years ago.
Those are really cool.
That were super easy to make. People absolutely love them. I do a big charity bike ride here in Columbus called Pelotonia. All the proceeds benefit the James Hospital at OSU, and I donated all the proceeds I made from those towards that. And I do enjoy doing that. I mean, that's fun, and people like it. I like to make things that I can give as gifts to people. I think for myself, I do a lot of like shawls and scarves and things, because mainly they're simple, usually 1 or 2 skeins. It doesn't cost a lot. But since I've started doing some more garmenty kind of things, I really have enjoyed doing that too.
And you wear your stuff a lot. Like you wear most of the stuff you've made.
And I have a good bicycling friend who has been a crocheter longer than me, and she got me even more into using like, you know, better quality yarns, and she turned me into a yarn snob. No, not really. but so that's fun too, because when we go on bike trips together, we usually now will scope out the local yarn stores, and we like to go and support them and buy something that we bring home and then make something out of it as a memory of our trip.
We love some yarn tourism. So a new question just came to my brain. This is just a quick one. Are you a monogamous crocheter, or do you have multiple projects at once? Tend to.
I would say,
we all know I have like 15 whips.
Yeah, no, I can't do that. No, I am like, except for like, well, like the Shaw Club thing where I can't really finish that because I don't have all the stuff. Right. Yeah. I tend to start a project and finish a project.
So we're different in that.
Yes. I like to see a finished project and yeah.
All right. What do you have a favorite yarn that you have used, or is there a certain weight of yarn that you prefer to use, or do you not feel like you don't really have a preference?
I think I end up using a lot of DK yarn. I think just a lot of the projects I do call for that. And for a long time, I didn't think I could make anything out of like a fingering weight yarn because I'm like, what can I crochet out of that? It's so thin, you know, but you know, Sarah told me that I could hold it double, which I had never really thought about. But then I also found some more summery, lacier. I have a really pretty pink lacy, you know, like it's not like a long scarf thing. That's fingering weight. So I'm learning that there are things that I can make out of the fingering weight yarn.
Yeah, and like
that I enjoy doing.
This tee that I'm working on is fingering weight. Like it's just little stitches though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. What techniques, are there any techniques you want to try or any techniques you want to do more of?
I would like to do some more Tunisian crochet for sure.
Yeah. That feels like a whole other world of
crochet.
Like it opens up a lot of possibility.
And you know, this shawl was a good project to start with because there's no fit to it, you know, or anything like that. So if it didn't come out perfectly the same size, it didn't really matter. But it is a lot of repetition. But I don't mind that. So I definitely want to look at Tony's book and pick out another project.
You just got her book?
Yeah, I've had it for a little while, but yeah.
I keep hearing about the mosaic crochet too, which is interesting to me because there's also mosaic knitting, and I don't think they're exactly the same, but you do seem to get a similar like it's like a color work technique for crochet. So that's intriguing to me as well.
I've always liked to like the Fair Isle look of sweaters that are knitted, and I know it's really hard to kind of get that kind of color work pattern in crochet, although I have been finding a few patterns out there that have some of that in them that I would like to try.
I feel like crochet is really having a moment right now. Like I think it's kind of exploded in popularity on like TikTok and a lot of places, and a lot of people are getting into the craft like through that. But I think because of that, we're starting to get a lot more like unique and interesting crochet patterns, which I think we really need. So that's really exciting to me. What do you love about crochet?
I mean, I just enjoy having something to do with my hands. Especially in the evenings, if I'm just sitting around watching television, I would rather be working on something than, you know, snacking. It's not a good thing.
Stop that. So snacking is just fun. We are pro snacking on this podcast.
But I snack less when I'm doing crochet because my hands are busy. So that's all good. Oh yeah, it's just, you know, it's something fun to do.
All right, now we have a couple of questions from audience members that we're going to end on. So thank you so much to those who submitted questions. They're both really great questions. So the first one was, how do we choose colors for our projects? What colors are we drawn to, and do we like the same colors? So I feel like we can kind of take turns here. So how do we choose colors for our projects? I feel like for me, this really varies depending on the project. I buy a lot of my yarn secondhand. So I don't tend to buy colors that I don't like, but I do tend to do a little bit more like starting with the yarn and then picking a project for it. So I think in that situation, I'm usually initially drawn to the yarn for the color or like the texture, and then I'm gonna be finding a project for that. Or if I have a project in mind, then I'll be looking for something that would work. Occasionally, if I want something really specific or it's like a big project, like I feel like a good example of this was like my Alpine Bloom tee. I went and bought yarn, like new yarn for that project. And how do I choose colors? I tend to just be really drawn to a color. Like for that one, I was looking at the color changing yarns and I just found one that I loved. And I was like, I definitely want to use this for my contrast color. And then I went and looked for a yarn that would be suitable for the main color and just kind of picked what felt good to me. I know this is something that a lot of people really struggle with. And I feel like the best thing you can do is like go to a yarn store and just see what like grabs your eye. And just kind of like make a mental note of that. And like, that's a way to learn what colors you like. You can also pick colors based on like things you already have in your wardrobe. Like if you have a lot of blue and green in your wardrobe, those are probably good colors for you. I feel like right now it's very trendy to do the like seasonal color analysis, like whether you're a spring or a winter. So anything like that you can do that helps you like find what colors are your colors. But I also feel like you can just wear colors that you like. They don't have to be colors that are flattering to you or make you look good. Like I would just say whatever you're drawn to, because that's how it tends to be for me. I'll just be like, oh, I love that, and then kind of go from there. What colors am I drawn to tend to be, I have a pretty like consistent palette, I think. Black, white, neutrals, but blues, most shades of blue, especially the cooler blues, are really good for me, brighter blues. But then also going into warmer colors, I like a hot pink, I like a reddish orange, shades of brown, like cosmetic-y neutral kind of colors. Things that I tend to stay away from are like yellows. I don't wear a ton of green. If I do, it's kind of like a khaki green usually. And those are just the colors that I like to wear. So that's what I tend to be drawn to. I think we do not wear a lot of the same colors because I think we have different skin tones. So I tend to wear like brighter, more saturated, cooler colors. And I feel like you tend to wear more like summery, warm, kind of like corals and like pinks and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say I really like anything that's beachy colored. So like the turquoise, the corals, I do like pink. Jewel tones, like I would say this is kind of like more like, I'm okay with reds. Yeah.
So how do you choose colors for your projects?
Okay, I really struggle with that. I'm one of those people. Like if I am drawn to patterns based on what I see, like, so by color sometimes. So a pattern might catch my eye because I really love the color more so than I love the pattern. And I will say going to a yarn store where there are a myriad of choices is a bit overwhelming for me. I am okay if I am going in with like a specific, I have found a pattern that I like. I'm either looking for that color or I'm looking for a color that I can do in that pattern. Like that light blue shirt. I really liked that pattern, but they showed it in kind of a beige color, which I knew I did not want because I don't wear a lot of beige. And then I had just read recently where like light blue was kind of a popular color for this year. So I kind of went with the intention of trying to find a light blue yarn that I could do in that sweater. So in that case, but again, I have to know what I'm looking for. If you are a yarn shop owner, it is very helpful for me to see displays of things. Yes, samples. So I can see what it looks like when it's gonna be finished, and I might choose the same color that it's done in, or you know, it helps if I have Sarah or my other daughter along with me, and I can say like, what do you think about these colors together? Because I am not very good at that.
It can be hard, yeah. And I do feel like there's a lot of resources online and like free resources on YouTube for if you're interested in learning like a little bit more about color theory, as far as like, okay, if I want my main color to be green, like you might want to pick like a color that's either next to that on the color wheel as your secondary color if you want less contrast, like yellow or blue, or you might want to pick like red or pink, which is across from it on the color wheel if you want like more contrast. So that kind of information is like available all over the internet if you just search some like basic color theory stuff. And I feel like even arming yourself with like a little bit of basic knowledge about that can be really helpful. But yeah, what did we answer the whole question? So yeah, you said what colors you're drawn to, and we said, I don't think we really are drawn to the same colors. I feel like I have dad's coloring more, and my sister has her coloring. So it's kind of funny how that works out. I think I'm a winter, like a true winter, and I think you're probably like a faller. I think you're probably a spring.
Yeah, I like fall colors too. Yeah.
I would say you wear more like bright, warm colors. Anyway, that's my quick seasonal color analysis. Okay, last question, and this one's so sweet. What are our favorite things about each other? And what other hobbies do we share or activities do we like to do together? So my favorite things about you, and it is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day. No, I won't make you cry. On camera, how dare. I feel like you are an optimist, which is something that I really admire about you. You are an eternal optimist. You are highly organized and motivated, which I think I inherited from you and also love about you. And I think you're very passionate about the things that you love. So like your biking and all of that. And that is good. And you've also set a really good example for me and Laura. So
thank you.
Yes.
I'm trying not to cry.
Now, what do you like about me?
I like everything about you. Well, first, you know, I love you because you're my daughter.
Well, yeah,
that's first and foremost. But I do have to say, I think Sarah really, she's very intelligent. She's a very hard worker. I love that she shares her knowledge about things that she is passionate about with others. Like she started this craft night in Columbus, which is doing really well. And so she's a good friend to people.
You're gonna make me cry.
She's just a wonderful person. She's she sticks by the things that she believes in. And I think that's good. And, you know, I just love her.
Thanks, Mom. I love you too. All right, well, on that tearful note, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for joining me and being my special guest.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and who knows, maybe we'll have you back again sometime.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed our crochet extravaganza. Sorry we were a little light on all the details, but I will try to link them all below. I'd love to you to let us know below in the comments, do you crochet? Are you a crocheter? And if so, let us know what you're working on, or let us know if it's something you wanted to try. So with that, we're gonna call it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there.
Bye.
Bye-bye.